Hello, and welcome to episode number 209 of the Board Game Barrage podcast. I am your host, Christina the Blue Tank, and with me as always, I have Mark the Green Tank.
Hey!
Neelan the Orange Tank.
Hello!
And Kellen the Red Tank.
Ho!
What'd you say?
I don't know. I didn't want to repeat.
Now you're anxious about your catchphrase, huh?
I didn't want to repeat one of their words, and I think I heard a hey and then what did you say? Yo?
Hello!
Ho?
Oh, so you said
a hey,
ho?
a ho, and then I said ho, but
It sort of works for this episode.
I thought you
Yeah.
said ho,
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess it worked. It doesn't work when you say it afterwards, because then it sounds like you're just saying ho.
it's
but-
not the derogatory one.
Welcome back after a long, wonderful journey through our most of our top 50 games.
Now we're doing your 40 other games, is that right?
Yes, now we're going.
One per
Exactly.
episode, right? Is that what you said on the
That's
last?
right,
Yeah.
one per episode. The only way I will agree to do this. We are back from the holidays, and we wanted to bring to you a couple of wonderful things, namely some holiday hits and...
Hot question.
That's right. We are here to talk about the games we played over the holidays. We're kind of using that term loosely, as in the last several weeks. The games we played with our family, our friends, each other. We're just catching up. It's been a long time. We've played a lot of games. We want to talk about them. We want to share the hits with you guys. And then, of course, we want to give you some hot, spicy takes on some hot, spicy questions. If you've never heard a hot question before, you're in for even more of the delight that you just heard from Neelan. So, without further ado, let's get into it. What have we all been playing these holidays? Neelan, why don't you kick us off and take us back in time?
Yeah, happily.
Like you always do.
Yes. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm going to take it as a compliment. I think the one that comes to the forefront of my mind is a game called the Siege of Runedar, which is notable, because it is a Dr. Knizia game.
Ooh,
Yeah.
doctor.
Yeah, the doctor himself. It's also a weird one. So I remember talking about this when we were doing like the Essen preview. It's a cooperative tower defense Dr. Rainer Knizia game that's very heavily thematic. It's pretty wild. Have you guys seen pictures of this?
The box is the game.
Yeah.
But you lost me at co-op.
There were a couple of tables, I think, at the hot game section at PAX that were running this, and like that's kind of the thing that's kind of striking about it, is you take the lid off of the box, once you've obviously pre-assembled it, put the stickers on, all that, and it's just like this castle that is beautifully modeled into the bottom of the box. It can't even be removed from the bottom of the box, and all the components just sort of like fit into the top there, and you take out the dwarves that you're playing as and the orcs that are attacking, and it's all just like right there. It's like lifting off the lid, and there's this beautiful little diorama that is like the game underneath it. It's pretty cool. Just as a production, as a presentation, I thought it was neat. The basic premise, if you don't know what like a tower defense game is, this is sort of like lifted from video games a little bit, where you're typically either on your own or with a group of other people defending a static position, a castle, from just incoming enemies. And this is pretty much exactly what you're doing in Runedar. You have a deck of orcs coming in, you play as these dwarves, and you're just fighting them off before they can get to the middle of your castle and steal your gold, while trying to dig this tunnel at the same time. And the only aim of the game is basically to dig out the tunnel before all your gold is gone, and before other game-ending conditions get met, which would lose the game. You've just got to like dig away from the castle. It's really, really cool.
You said that your mom got into this?
Yeah, so that was actually the thing that was the most surprising. Is so the way that this kind of played out is I had it sent directly to me in South Africa, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get it played there, but I figured there was a decent chance, because it's a cooperative game, that I could at least play with my brothers. But the way this kind of worked out, I set it up and my brother had to leave. So my mom was just like, well, you started explaining this, so why didn't we just try it? And I was like, okay, Mom, I don't know that you're going to love this, but sure, why not? So I explained.
Wait, and it was just the two of you?
It was just the two of us.
Oh.
Playing this cooperative tower defense game of orcs versus dwarves, which is so like outside my mom's wheelhouse. There were teething problems with it because it's not the most approachable game, especially from the perspective of like my mom, but it worked. I mean, she got it. Like she'd never played a deck builder before, so there's a little bit of just like learning that system. But then I think because it's so charming and because it's so thematic, it's like orcs are coming in and you have to attack the orcs. that's already like an easy starting point, right? So what happened is like we lost that first game miserably, but you wanted to play it again, like a few days later. So that time we did have my brother and we sort of played it one more time and we lost again. And then we were so set. This was like now approaching as I was about to leave South Africa. And my brothers and my mom were just like, we have to try this one more time. We have to try to beat this. I was like, okay, look, I'm in for it. Like, I thought I was going to play this once, take it back, play with Christina, Kellen, and Mark, like the new Knizia game. But if we're going to try win this before I leave, I'm all in. And we did. So we won it on normal difficulty on the third try. And it felt really, really great. I said it then, and like, this is kind of how I'll stand by it. If I never play that again, that was the perfect arc of that game just for like the holidays. Like, a game that I wasn't expecting to enjoy with my mum, of all people, and then actually getting to the point of like learning the systems and beating it. It's actually one of the coolest co-op games. It's very family friendly, I should say. So it's not like super deep, but we felt we were learning more about how to play it every time we lost, which is what you want from a cooperative game. So super stoked by that.
What did she refer to the game as? I always think with these games that have, like, is it Siege? Is it Runedar? Or is it that Castle Box game?
I think it was pretty much that Orc game is pretty much what it became. There was definitely no Runedar. I don't remember her referring it to Siege. But yeah, I think it was the Orc game.
The Orc game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Perfect.
Well, as lovely as that arc is, you definitely will be playing this again.
Oh, yeah. No, and that's the thing. I think it's lovely enough that I want to show it to you.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I think we will all enjoy it. Like, it's just so Knizia. Like, it's got deck building. It's got stuff that you've seen before. It's got dice combat, but it's clean. And it's just everything stripped down to what it needs to be and nothing more. Very cool.
My last question. Tower defense games get the M word? Monotonous?
Yes.
How does that feel? Let's try that on with the Orc game.
To be fair, like, that is kind of, again, where my arc with the game ended up. I felt like at the end of, like, 3 games, nothing much would necessarily change in subsequent games, but you could ramp up the difficulty. You could certainly make it more challenging. Like, we only beat it on normal of 4 difficulty settings. So there's more challenge there, but I don't think the game is going to feel substantially different. There's nothing I can think of in terms of variability that would make it feel very, very different.
And man, this looks so cool. If you have not, just look up Siege of Runedar. Really cool production.
Yeah, it's neat. It really, really is. I think especially if you're in the market for like a family-friendly, approachable co-op, I would happily recommend this. That is the Siege of Runedar.
Okay, I want to have a group conversation about the party game Snakes. And this is one of the latest big potato games releases, and that is spelled Snakes with a bunch of S's on the end.
3 S's for those looking it up.
Oh, is it 3?
It's 3.
How do you know that already?
You thought it was a bunch of S's?
This is not a miracle of editing. Mark literally knew how many S's were in Snakes. Snakes is a game that we had a chance to play at PAX Unplugged together, and I brought it home for the holidays and had a chance to play it a few more times, and I am confused as to how I feel about it, and so I want to talk about it here. Snakes is a social deduction game where there are quizzes. There are trivia questions with only 3 answers, A, B, or C. And you are divided into 2 teams, a team of snakes that knows the answer to the trivia question, but is trying to get the humans to answer the question wrong. And then there are humans, and then there is one mongoose of truth. That is the coolest role in the game, Mongoose of Truth. Everyone knows that they are a normal human.
Well, they're a mongoose.
Or they're, in this case, a mongoose. But you know you can trust them. And then the questions start. And these trivia questions are so weird. It's like, what is the mating rituals of koalas? And then there are ridiculous answers. You know, like they climb up in trees and jump up and down. You know, they roll around in their own poop. Basically ABC, and then for 2 minutes everyone at the table will talk and everyone has to pick an answer that they think it is. And so what the game is basically the snakes gaslighting the out of everyone and saying, I read on Wikipedia, you know, I saw a TikTok video about this trend. And then at the end everyone votes and the snakes score points for everyone who got the answer wrong, and the good guys get points if they correctly guess the answer. What do you guys think about Snakes?
Snakes was one of the more popular games I introduced to non-gamers over the holidays. I think it's easy to teach, and it has that sort of unique aspect to it where, you know, social deduction hidden trader thing where, it's a mechanism that most people who aren't board gamers will probably not have encountered. And it's like an easy way to introduce that, and it makes people saying, oh, this is cool. And, a lot of like table talk and a lot of that kind of thing that I think lends itself to first-time players. So it's been successful whenever I've tried it out with non-gamers.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's fun to show people for the first time and to kind of see their reaction,
Right.
Because it is, even gamers, because it is social deduction game that you've seen it before, you've played it before. The only new part about it is that you're adding trivia in.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, oh, that's a good idea. That's fun. And it is fun. But it gets old. It gets old really fast for me anyways. After a couple of rounds, I've played this with a few different groups, several different groups. And again, every time it's like really fun to show them and they're all excited and we do a couple of rounds and it's silly. And then after that, everybody's like, oh, okay, next game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It just
sure.
kind of like wears off really fast. It doesn't really work that well as a social deduction game because there will often be either a clear to the table answer, like everybody immediately agrees on one answer, and then there's really nothing the hidden traders can do. So you're just kind of sitting there like, if you try to steer people away, they're already set in their ways. Like we were playing with Paxton, Kellen's brother, and his friends, and Paxton was like, no, I don't care who's the snake, I don't care if you're a snake, I don't care if I'm wrong, I know this is the answer, nobody's going to change my mind. And I feel like that has happened with other groups as well. So it's kind of like people are like, no, this is the answer, and I don't even care if I lose the hidden trader part of it. I just want to be right in my answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else had that experience.
If I'm understanding you, Christina, I think I kind of agree with this a little bit. It just doesn't give the snakes that much wiggle room, right? Like, it's like the key of most social deduction games is if you are on the outs, there has to be some way to worm yourself back into a strong position. Right. And Snakes doesn't really offer that because the state, the thing under scrutiny is a binary state. It's like either you think it's this answer or you don't, right? And there's no real way for nuance to like creep into that.
Exactly.
And I think that the questions could be better to actually like reinforce that or something about the trivia should reinforce that, but it just doesn't.
Yes, Neelan.
Yeah.
The questions. So when I was playing this at PAX Unplugged as a brain dead person at a con, I was loving it. I was like, oh, this is so fun. We can play for 10 minutes. We can have a good time. And everyone knows I like to have a good time. And when we played it this past weekend, we had 2 questions in a row that just ruined the game. And the first question was around which of these is a real song title. And the 3 songs is like Satan Gets a Taco. The second song was like, you're a fruit, I'm a tomato. And, I think the best questions works in more of like a Wits and Wagers sense where it's like, estimate how many gallons the ocean is.
Right.
And you can at least do something. But when the question is, which one of these is a song, and all 3 of the song titles are completely incoherent babble, like there's nothing to go on.
Right, exactly. And the one that comes to mind, I forget who was in this game. I'm pretty sure Christina was, but it was like, what is the name for like a bead of toothpaste? And all 3 words were just like ridiculous words. I'm just like, well, how do I argue that it might be this when clearly this is something that no one would know the answer to,
Yeah.
I think you're exactly right, Kellen. They have to be things where you could at least have some intuitive idea.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then that question was chased with another question that no one at the table believed the game about and proceeded to look it up. And it's basically, what is the most common U.S. internet password? And I will spoil 1 out of 200 of these questions. Snakes says that the word football is a more popular password than the password in the U.S., I believe, which is not true categorically in literally every version of that list we looked up.
Just a quick editor's note here. I pulled out my copy of Snakes just to double check the question that Kellen cites on the episode. And sure enough, it says that the most common internet password is football, with the other 2 choices being QWERTY and password. And like Kellen says, everything that I've looked up to double check that appears to say that is absolutely untrue. So Kellen got it right.
And so there were no more cries to play Snakes after the game was lying to us. I think the cries were snake is being a snake next game.
In contrast to Snakes, which might be fun for you, but we had some fun experiences with the game Time Bomb, which is another social deduction game. You may have played Don't Mess with Cthulhu, which is another version of the game. We actually played Time Bomb Evolution, and we quickly returned to just playing Time Bomb because we did not like the expansion, which I'll get into in a minute. But first, Time Bomb is a social deduction game in which the bad guys are trying to set off the bombs and the good guys are trying to defuse the bombs.
Cutting wires
You're
with
cutting
the wire
wires.
cutters.
It's very simple. It's very pure as far as social deduction games go. And the reason I bring it up in contrast to Snakes is because that subtlety that Neelan mentioned, the lack of subtlety in Snakes, there is a lot of room for subtlety and nuance in Time Bomb. We had such a fun, like a classic social deduction game in which, spoiler, the bad guys won. Kellen and I were both good guys, so we lost. But the bad guys just did such a good job because they completely convinced us that they were good guys. And the subtlety came in because there was just more room in the lying. Whereas, and I guess I don't need to keep bringing it back to Snakes, but I feel like I do because I made that segue. It was just such a beautiful situation where Kellen's sister convinced us she was good by telling us she had in her pile, she was like, I do have a good one, but I have 3 bad ones and they're all yellows. And we ended up revealing exactly 3 and they were all yellows, but she really played it to where we totally believed her that the last card was a good card. It turned out in the end that it was not. She had 4 bad yellows. And so she was willing to commit to that lie. She got lucky too. It was a good hand to be dealt. But it was just such a great combination. And then the next round, her fellow bad guy just like completed what she started. And it was so beautiful. Nobody saw it coming. We completely trusted them. And I think that's where social deduction games are really fun and beautiful. The rules and all of the pieces of the game have to allow for that type of lying, or else it just doesn't work.
The 30-second TLDR on this is that Time Bomb or Don't Mess with Cthulhu is a very good ultra-light luck-driven social deduction game, which allows people to get their feet wet into social deduction. There's a lot of room for the RNG to just get you, but I think it's charming and it's 5 to 10 minutes long. Time Bomb Evolution was a mistake. It added special powers to every different type of bomb. Normally, you're just trying, if 4 of any color bomb come out, the game ends and the bad guys win. In this one, there are 7 different bomb types with 7 different power types, and the entire game is just you going, what does the red bomb do again? What does the pink bomb? Wait a minute, the yellow bomb diffuses the red, the pink, the yellow, and the audience was not amused and immediately asked to go back to Time Bomb. So we de-evolved. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, that works.
Back to just Time Bomb. And actually, it's alarming, right? Because Don't Mess with Cthulhu is a terrible theme. And then Time Bomb Evolution is Moriarty, like Sherlock themed. And the original Time Bomb is actually what I prefer because it's a Japanese card game. Spoiler alert.
Yes. Thank you for the 60 to 90 second TLDR, Kellen.
Excuse me?
No, it's a compliment. You're good at summing things up.
That was a compliment?
Although he did say it was going to be 30 seconds, so I'm not so sure.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to, I can't give a compliment without also throwing in a barb.
Like a jab in there as well.
Exactly.
Well, who needs enemies when Kellen is your friend?
That is a really good line.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if we have to credit the writer of that, but... And that is Time Bomb and Time Bomb Evolution.
So for my holiday hit, I've got a holiday hit and a holiday miss, actually. A tale of light and a tale of darkness when it comes to my highlight.
Path of Light and Shadows?
That's right, exactly. We played Path of Light and Shadows all holidays long. No. So the 2 games I want to talk about in terms of holiday games, one went over really well. Actually, both games went over really well, but I have, a happy tale and a dark tale. So the happy tale was Sacred Rites. So I introduced Sacred Rites to...
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I think this actually dovetails
with... Sacred Rites.
Exactly, precisely. I think this dovetails well with Snakes because Sacred Rite strikes me as that type of game where you show it to people, you explain the rules, everybody has a good time, and then nobody really wants to play it the second or third time necessarily. But so this is a game we've covered before, but just to sum it up, Sacred Rites is sort of like a hidden trader game where, along the lines of games like Fake Artist Goes to New York and that kind of thing, Detective Club, where everybody but 1 or 2 people will know what the quote-unquote sacred rite is. And that can be any sort of word, like ocean or whatever. And then each person is tasked with giving a clue about the sacred rite in one of a different type of ways. They're all dealt out. Tradition, which tells you how you have to communicate what the sacred rite is. So it might say color. And so if I see it's ocean, I might say the color of our sacred rite is blue. And then everybody around the table, and this is where you sort of like get everybody excited about it. Everybody on the table must say,
ooh. Come on, guys. Everybody around the table.
yeah.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Oh, it's not ooh?
I think it's ah.
No, I thought it started with ooh.
No,
No, it starts
I think
with
it's just
Oh, there's just an ah?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I've been saying ooh, ah all this time. I'm sure I didn't say that while we were playing because I would have been the only one.
That's right.
but-
You'd have been ostracized.
Blue. That does make it a lot shorter. That makes
Right. And
sense.
actually, they all say, the color of our sacred rite is blue. That's so.
Darn it. I can't-
But you got the essence of it. But this can also get crazier where you have a movement. So instead of like saying the color blue, you might try to like simulate a wave with your hands. But the trick is, and as is the trick in a lot of games like this, is you want to reveal enough that the good guys know that you're part of the good guy club, but not getting away too much information to the traders. And then at the end, the traders get a chance to win the game if they can guess what the sacred rite is, despite not knowing what it is. So everybody had a really good time with this. The whole thing about saying, the movement of our sacred rite is, and then having everybody at the table mimic this like funny hand movement. They all got a kick out of it. I played it with a couple different groups, and they all really enjoyed it. So I think if you're looking for a game, in the same wavelength as Snakes, that sort of like fun party play it once game, Sacred Rites worked really well with me.
Did you take my copy of this?
I did not. I traded for a copy.
I don't believe
at
you.
PAX Unplugged. Check your closet.
We actually played Mark's copy at PAX Unplugged.
Oh, that
right.
might be true.
Yeah.
I opened it because I kept being like, is Mark going to care that I opened this? Because he wasn't around. And you guys were like, it's fine. And I was like, are you sure? Because he wasn't around to ask. I felt weird. You didn't mind, I guess.
I did not mind.
I'm sure we asked him. I don't think we just assumed.
I don't care.
Yeah, but I don't think we
What are
just
we talking
assumed
about
he
here?
would be okay with it. Actually,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you
Maybe
guys
we
just
did.
assumed.
Can you imagine if I came back and you guys were playing it and I flipped the table or something? What? How dare you?
He's snatching up all the pieces.
This is my secret.
Putting him in his pockets.
Yeah, and walking
This,
out.
this reminds me of like the mark of a true friend, which is that if you can go in their house and get milk out of their fridge without asking.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
This is the mark of a true board game friend if you can open one of their games.
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm not sure I would allow any of you to open any of my games
I've opened your games.
without permission.
No. Hey, Neelan, would you come to our house and drink milk without asking?
No.
But that's just because you're polite.
Yeah, that's exactly right. This is the mark
We're
of
good
an
friends.
impolite friend, as I
That's
think.
right.
Yes,
Discover.
exactly.
Well, you guys are coming to my house in little under 2 months for Dice Tower West, and I'm hereby proclaiming
I'm
that
drinking
you're
milk
all
from the carton.
You're all allowed to drink
Straight
That's
from
right.
the carton.
Absolutely.
Mark, I'm drinking water straight from your shower. You can't stop me.
Actually, funny thing is, you have to add salt to the water here in Vegas because I guess it's like especially hard water. So we have to get like buckets of salt that we add to like this processing unit in our garage.
Oh, wow.
So if you like,
Oh, does
salty
it make it
water-
really soft, though?
Yeah, it does make it very soft.
That's nice.
Yeah, it does make it. It's almost like you're bathing in like lotion or something. Like it feels like
Oh.
yeah.
What?
It feels like it's very
No, yeah,
slick.
it's like slippery,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
like if you go and do an Epsom salt bath or if you go skinny dipping in the ocean.
right. Both of which I do all the time.
Exactly. Anyways, getting back to Sacred Rites.
Yes.
We were not playing Sacred Rites, and people kept saying, the whatever, because it just gets stuck in your head. Obviously, it got wrongly stuck. Nobody corrected me last night. I kept saying, ooh. They were too polite. But that is kind of funny that it's like a game you only want to play once, but that you think about for a while and
Right.
like kind of gets stuck in your head.
The other game that I want to talk about, and this is the Tale of Darkness, is that, and this is another oldie but goodie back from games we've talked about before, but we played, and this was a big hit, Hearts of Attraction.
Ah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This was the game of Dice Tower West
Yeah,
2019.
it was Dice
Is
Tower
that right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Oh, we loved this. Oh, but this is the Tale of Darkness?
This is the Tale of Darkness. It is the Tale
Oh,
of Darkness.
no.
Although it was a hit both times I played it, once with my family and once with friends. And in fact, the friends bought a copy immediately after playing it. So for those who don't remember Hearts of Attraction, And the reason we say it that way is the A in the center of that word is capitalized on the box. So
Can I just say really quick, I think it's hilarious that they wanted a copy of this game and you were so eager to hang on to your copy that you wouldn't just let them take it.
I actually did give them the copy of the game. I didn't want to make myself sound too magnanimous, but I currently do not have a copy of Hearts of a Train.
Okay.
Wait, why is the A capitalized?
I don't know, because it makes no sense, because it's weird. There's this random...
I mean, it fits with the rest of the game.
That's right. So the way the game works is you have these magnets that are shaped as hearts, and you spread them out across the table, and then each person to start the game keeps one of these magnets in their hands. And you basically slide the magnet across the table, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to get them to clump up. And if magnets clump up, if they get attracted to each other, you get to keep any clump you want. In the rare case, you make multiple clumps. Usually it's the same.
Can you please stop?
Clump? Clump? Clump?
Okay.
Clump.
What other...
Clump.
When in life do you want to clump,
Clump.
first of all? And second of all, please stop saying that word.
Clump.
Wait, clump? You don't like the word clump?
Who would like that word?
What about clumps of clay?
What about Dinner with the Clumps? Isn't that a movie with...
Yeah.
Yeah,
And well, is it?
I think so. That's one of Kellen's favorite movies.
Kellen?
Yeah. He's a big Eddie Murphy
What?
fan. Dinner with the Clumps. You love it. You love it. You just tell me you love it. You said, Mark, I love Dinner with the Clumps. Anyhow, so the way it works is you slide these magnets across the table. If they clump up, they clump up.
They group up.
They clump up. Clump up.
They clump up, Kellen. They clump up. Clump up.
You get to keep a clump. I'm going to say clump so many times, it's going to drive you crazy. You get to keep a clump. K is the way I like to say it.
What?
You keep doing it until all the magnets have been taken. So until the final clump is clumped, and you take it, and then the game ends, and then whoever has the most magnets wins. So we played this, and I taught it to the first set of people. I think it was like my sister-in-law versus my brother or something. As soon as they finished playing that first game, everybody just wanted to do a tournament. So we just had a tournament right then and there.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody involved. It was a one-on-one tournament and like an elimination thing.
I cannot wait to see how this turns into a tale of darkness.
So it was going well. We're all standing around the table for every game, and everybody's like cheering. And, you can get these comebacks where somebody's leading, but there's one magnet left, and nobody can really quite get it because sometimes instead of clumping, they, repelled. And so the game can go from like really being close to an end to like all of a sudden now there are 4 or 5 magnets back on the table, and, it's anybody's ball game. So it was fun. Every matchup, center around the table, cheering, everybody yelling. It's this exciting thing. And then the next match up was my 13-year-old niece versus my 8-year-old niece. And my 8-year-old niece really has like the Basada competitiveness in her. She's very, very competitive. And so they're playing it and they're excited and everything's going well until my 8-year-old niece, she's throwing it at like 3 magnets sitting right there. And instead of like clumping up, they like get repelled, and it's just like it's blowing her mind that like the magnets are repelling in such a way that the magnet swerves away from them. And she's just convinced that this is like an act of God. Like this cannot be. She didn't say it in that way, but she's just going. She's just like turning beet red, and like her sister is goading her a little bit, saying like, "Oh, look how much I got," and she's like showing her the magnets. But she's literally starting to turn beet red and like getting really upset. And then my brother, her dad, is like, "Gotta calm down. This is just a game. We're playing it. We're having fun. Just calm down." And she's just like, "But I can't get them to clump up, or I can't get. I'm not getting."
She did not scream that.
I think she might have. That's maybe why clump is so embedded in my brain right now. But and then she started coming back, and then like she was coming back. It was down to like 1, and she was about to lose, and then she starts coming back. But then they start being all around my other niece's side. So basically, toward the end of the game, instead of the magnets sort of being arranged in the middle, they're all sort of around my older niece's side. And so she had these like very easy like shots to make. All the magnets were basically on her side. And my little niece was just couldn't stand it and just started like banging the magnets on the table. And so my brother had to like pick her up and like literally take her away from the table and like talk to her.
Oh, ejected?
Oh my gosh.
She was ejected.
She was ejected
from the tournament.
She was kicked out from the tournament for unsportsmanlike play.
I don't want to say that your story was anticlimactic, but I really thought she was going to start throwing the magnets at her. That's what my sister and I would have done.
That's hilarious. Yeah, actually, my brother broke my head twice, so that's a Basada trait. So
Yeah, same. There's a Nuvan trait too.
okay. So yeah, that was
hurt each other.
my story of darkness when it came to Hearts of Attraction.
Oh man!
But it was a hit in both times we played. I mean, that.
Did the tournament just end after that?
No. We continued. The game must
good,
go on.
good,
the game
good.
must
Okay,
go on.
good.
Yeah, you put them in the penalty box and you keep going. So
So that's not the darkest of the darkest
No,
tales.
no. Although if you had been there when this like 8-year-old is like just turning red and just pouting and slamming her fist.
Honestly, I would have related. I would have understood. I would have been like, yeah, you need to win. Try harder. Keep going. You can beat her.
That's right. And that is Sacred Rites and Hearts of Attraction.
Another one of my holiday hits is not as exciting as that story. It's just kind of nice. It's really hard to get my family to play games, specifically my parents, because I think that it's sad because my parents are smart, but games make them feel dumb, specifically the games that I try to make them play. And a lot of it is just that there are a lot of rules that they're not used to. And so Kellen had a very good idea, and he said, let's teach them Wits and Wagers. And it went over so well. We played Wits and Wagers Vegas. Like the first thing my dad said, he was like, this is great. I don't need my glasses for this game. The Vegas theme obviously helps. You know, most parents like gambling. I mean, that's just a parental trait. They got to gamble away the stress of having children. So they were really into it. The rule set obviously was just like straightforward. They understood. They liked the fact that they didn't have to be good at trivia. They just had to be good at kind of like guessing these ranges and betting on other people's guesses. And it just went over so well. I cannot even count the amount of times that both of my parents thanked me and Kellen for bringing a game that they could actually understand and not like feel stupid.
That's awesome.
There was a little bit of tension with my sister and I. Again, we're very, very competitive. And like it gets to a not good place though. Like there's healthy competition, and then there's like the sibling. Like my sister was like the 8-year-old getting beat red, and I was like the 13-year-old like goading her. And making her angrier.
It's like I haven't even finished explaining the game, but I'm telling them to just like start the first round, because you start with a little amount of bidding chips and then you get more. And it was either your dad or your brother who made a bet, the only bet on the board. No one else had bet, and it's a free-forming bet. And then they said, "Oh, I'm going to change my bet."
Before anybody else
no one else had
bet.
And her little sister said, "Absolutely not."
Yeah, she was like, "You can't do that. You have to stick to your bet.
Yeah,
There's no changing bets." And
you
like,
learn from your mistakes,
yeah,
I think is what she told us.
You must learn from your mistakes.
Wow.
So yeah, it got a little tense, but overall that was the exception. It went over so well, and it just made me happy because I was able to find a game that made everyone happy.
We chased Wits and Wagers Vegas edition with Colorful, which Mark and I learned on game night with the Board Game Geek crew. So that's on YouTube if you want to watch us play that with the fabulous Lincoln, Nikki, and Dave. And in Colorful, you're essentially, everyone has a same hand of cards representing a bunch of different colors, and then someone is given a category like TV show, and then they say Barney, and then everyone has to put down the first color that comes to mind when you say that. But you don't reveal it right then. You do 5 or 6 rounds of that, which is hilarious because by the time you get to the last one, someone says Metallica, but you already used your black card like 3 rounds ago, and it's like the air gets sucked out of the room as everyone goes, "Oh no, like I couldn't possibly have a tire color because that was already used." And you're basically trying to get a perfect set, which is everybody getting the same color every time. I think this one is delightful and charming, but can be difficult across age generations because a lot of the references, people just look at you like you don't know what Happy Days is, and I'm like, no.
You don't know what color that's supposed to be. Yeah, this went over really, really well too. They just wanted to play over and over. It was great because when somebody messed up, they just laughed about it. It wasn't super punishing. It wasn't so serious that somebody felt bad because, you know, that's obviously when you're teaching your family a co-op game, they could bear the burden of responsibility of not winning the game, but it's so light and family friendly that it just, you know, it was just hilarious. Like my mom used the completely wrong card, and then when she like revealed to us that she didn't have it, and we were just all cracking up. It's just it's a very, very fun light game.
But real talk, you don't have the color blue because it was successfully used on a previous round, and the clue is ocean. Do you select pale blue, yellow, or gold?
Sorry, correction.
No correction. No correction.
The clue was not ocean. The clue was not ocean.
Yes,
the clue was beach.
Uh-oh.
The clue was beach.
The clue may have been beach.
It, yeah.
The clue may have been beach.
You don't have dark blue. You have pale blue, or you have yellow.
Or gold.
Or gold. What do you use?
I mean yellow or gold, one of the two, surely.
Thank you. I was the only one who did yellow. Kellen used pale blue.
It was my clue, so the correct
Oh,
answer
it was your
pale blue.
Or beach?
Yes, pale. You can't see it. Okay, Neelan, I forgive you because you can't see the pale blue color that I saw in my hand.
Right.
That clearly
Why
denoted
didn't you just
ocean.
say ocean?
I think ocean was not like valid.
Oh, it must have been like a place? I don't know.
It doesn't.
It doesn't matter.
Cut this.
It doesn't matter. Kellen was wrong. Do not cut this.
I'll leave it in and double it.
So that was Wits and Wagers Vegas edition and colorful.
Mark's Heart of Darkness story, which you can thank me for that. I should have thought about that sooner.
That's great, yeah.
Reminded me of something that happened actually right before I left South Africa. So I knew I'd wanted to introduce my mum to Paperback, which is a deck building card game. I thought, okay, well, she's mastered Siege of Runedar, so now we can stay on the deck building train. And my mum and I grew up playing a lot of Scrabble with each other. So it just seemed perfect. But this was a game that, unlike Siege of Runedar, a lot of people got roped into. So it ended up being a 5-player game in the last couple of hours before I had to go to the airport. And it ended up going a lot longer than I thought. And my dad is pacing around the room as the game's dragging on me, like,
Oh, no.
we gotta go, like tapping his watch, we gotta go. It's like, oh no, Dad, we're almost done, it's gonna be fine. We ended up just quickly finishing the game, packing up and going. And then you won't believe what happened. I swear to God, I got stuck in the elevator. Literally, the doors closed on the elevator and wouldn't move for 15 minutes
Oh my god.
on the way to the airport on my international flight back to Los Angeles.
And you were already late.
Yes,
because you were
exactly.
playing.
And then you could
And that's why you're still in Africa?
exactly. But the best thing about this is my dad would not live down the fact that the game was to blame for this. And it just
Right,
became,
of course.
you wouldn't stop playing that stupid word game. You wouldn't stop playing that stupid word game the entire time back. So that is now the reputation that Paperback has in the Niker household as the game that almost got Neelan stuck in South Africa for 2 more weeks.
I love it.
That's cute. All right. Thank you, everyone, for participating in Board Game Barrage Holiday Hits 2021/22. I think some of those bled into 2022. Next, we are...
You think? Some of these things
Jumping?
happened yesterday.
Kellen, that's fine. Behind the curtain.
Okay. Get behind the curtain. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, I hinted at that. I said our holiday season extended. It's a very long definition of a holiday season. We are ready to jump in to the hottest questions of the night. Neelan?
The hot questions.
I missed that.
That was beautiful. So, for our first question, we actually have to thank the Pumpkin Tank from our Discord, from the Board Game Barrage Discord, who posted this as a question of the day in our Discord. We are just shamelessly stealing this because we liked it. I don't know Pumpkin Tank, but I like pumpkin because my mom always, instead of saying pumpkin, she always says pumpkin. Like, it doesn't matter if it's like Halloween or we're going to the store and we need a can of pumpkin. It's always like pumpkin. Or if she's saying it as a term of like, come here, pumpkin.
Yeah.
It's always pumpkin and it's just cute. So anyways, makes me think of my mom and it's cute.
Because my birthday is occasionally on Thanksgiving, my mom sometimes as a child and still to this day calls me pumpkin boy, which I do not like. So please.
But she doesn't say pumpkin boy?
She doesn't say pumpkin boy.
Pumpkin. No, it's pumpkin, not pumpkin.
I don't understand your question.
Okay, let's get to the question. The question is, if in general you're given 10 plays, okay, so you're only allowed to play 10 times, 10 plays, would you rather have 10 plays of one game or one play of 10 different games?
And if anyone says it depends, you're fired from the podcast.
Nobody's going to say that. We're professionals.
Oh, okay.
For me, it depends.
Oh, that was so good. That was such good timing.
So this year, especially with BGA, it's allowed me to like really dive deep into a number of games. I've played a bunch of La Granja, I played a bunch of Splendor, I played a bunch of Race for the Galaxy, and so I always appreciated the chance to play games multiple times, play a single game that is multiple times, and playing them on BGA has reinforced that feeling. That said, if you're going to give me the choice of one or the other, I would definitely go with 10 games one time. I think a lot of games would do well with, say, 5 plays, but I think the number of games that would still stay interesting with 10 might be a number that is vanishing as you keep playing.
That's why I got to pick good games, Mark.
That's true. That's true. We didn't talk about whether you select them or they be foisted upon you.
Those rules you make your own rules.
Right. So I'm saying random game. Random game.
All right.
I'd rather play 10 random games once than one random game 10 times.
I think that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I think in
Well-
that context, at least, of like, hey, these are some arbitrary games. The only time I would even consider like the 1 for 10 if it was hyper specific about the game.
Well, let's say you can be hyper specific. I think even
I thought you were about to say if you could be high. You didn't.
Yeah.
You kept. I
Well,
was
I
like,
just-
wow.
High and
assume-
specific.
I assume Nealon is constantly high, so I didn't think that was a qualifier.
But like, for example, I do not regret the fact, like, I did a deep dive on the Great Zimbabwe last year. And that is a game that went from being one of the worst experiences I've ever played to in my top 50 as a result of that.
Yeah.
Really coming to appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I think that those are the experiences that make that exercise feel super rewarding. But like, absolutely, I would not pick games I like sometimes, like you said, Mark, don't always feel, and especially not in quick succession, feel like they would hold up to 10 plays.
You guys are putting these fake restrictions on yourselves.
Yeah, if they're clumped
Yeah,
together.
exactly. If you had to do them all
I-
back to back to back, I would never do them.
If you're trapped in a dark
Yeah.
room for 10 hours and you must play 1 game per hour, no, these are dumb restrictions, and I'm making the rules for my own games, and so there is no question for me. It is the same game 10 times. I think there is nothing more rewarding in gaming than getting to experience something new in a game that you love after playing it 100 times. I just think, I mean, that's why
100
innovation.
times.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm answering the question, Kellen. That's why innovation is my favorite game. That's why a lot of my favorite games stand up to this question. I want to play them over and over and over because there's still more to discover. Sure, if this is a random game, like there are a lot of games that I play where I'm like, I don't even want to finish this game, or, you know, I definitely don't want to play this again. But I would say most games, I'm like, oh, there's something really interesting here that I need to play again. And then the second time, it's like, oh, okay, I get that thing. Now I want to figure out this thing. It's like the way that, for me, the way I play games, I like to explore different things every time I play. I hope that there's more to explore game after game after game. So no question for me.
Oh, I'm looking at the game you've been randomly assigned, Christina, and it's Inish. So
Hey, maybe after... No, I'm not going to say that. Never mind.
I have challenges with this question. Can I object?
You cannot. You can message the Pumpkin Tank, but they have my full support, so you'll have to message both of us.
From Pumpkin Boy to Pumpkin Tank. Okay, in the abstract, I think that one of the biggest challenges with board games is rule sets, and that I spend too much of my hobby time not playing games. And so under that preamble, I would want to choose one game 10 times. Exhibit B in this conversation is that if a game cannot hold up to the scrutiny of 10 plays, I don't think it should exist. Now, that's not...
So you're saying snakes should not exist.
No? Well, let's not...
So you're saying rights... Wait, what's it called?
Don't unfollow me, Big Potato Games, for
you're
the
saying-
sins of Christina.
So you're saying sacred rights should not exist.
Yeah, I and again, I'm not trying...
So you're saying Inish
I'm not
should
saying,
not exist.
No, I'm not saying... Wow, a lot of words. You keep saying "so you're saying" and then saying your own sentences. I feel like my favorite types of games reward social play and the ability to interact with other people. You know, I recently played I'm the Boss again, and it's not the game that you are playing, it is the people, ergo I would rather spend more time playing the game, which would be one game 10 times. But I think that most of my hobby consumption nowadays would be closer to the other end of the spectrum. So it's almost like what I want to have happening and what is happening. And so it's a good question, a very good... hot question.
Oh, so you're walking it back now.
No, there's no walking. I just said it could be either.
Oh,
answer
so it depends.
depends. Yeah.
Now, excuse me. Excuse me.
Hypocrite.
At no point did I say those words. No point.
All right. Unfortunately, we are arriving at our second and last hot question. Nealon, can you get us really excited for this one? This is our second.
Hard question.
Wow. The pipes on
What?
Nealon.
Oh my gosh, that was
Who knew?
Been holding out on us for 3 years.
Yeah, it's been so long since I did one. It's just been like nascent in there,
Let it rip.
bubbling up, kind of uncomfortable really for the last year. Glad I got that out there.
Oh, we are too. That was wonderful. And it reads, picture yourself. You're at a game night. It's your game night. You arranged this game night. People are sitting around your table. You're playing a game. Doesn't matter what game, but it's a long game and you're smack dab in the middle of the game. Okay? You realize, like, there's no question. Everyone is miserable. Nobody is having fun. You're not having fun because you're stressed out because nobody's having fun. You were excited to play this game, but now you're just like, we still have an hour to go and like everyone is miserable. What do you do?
I think if everyone is miserable, the answer is easy.
Think it's a social etiquette, right? So probably you'd go to me first.
Oh, that's
Mark.
true.
I think that's why you were.
Yeah.
Everyone else was looking at me. And
I was
going to
say it depends on what Kellen has to say.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, well, after you, my lord.
No, I insist.
Oh. I haven't. I don't know.
I got nothing.
Please don't make me go first.
Okay. So I think in that situation, the obvious thing to do is just say something like, "Hey, I don't think any of us like this game. Let's just call it." And I have definitely done that before. I think it gets a little trickier when it's not a unanimous situation where you can tell one or two people really don't like it, and then maybe a couple other people are enjoying themselves. Then it gets trickier. I've been in that situation as well, and I have basically said the same thing. This is only situations where it's clear. Like sometimes you can tell somebody's not really enjoying themselves maybe, but they're still playing. But if it's clear, I'll ask. In our friend groups that we play with are usually without fail like a common, like nobody's going to say, no, I insist on finishing this game. So we'll end it. But I think
the social contract, Mark, you're violating it.
I'm violating the social contract?
You're violating the social
How's that?
contract. Yeah, you shook hands at the beginning of the game and said, we're going to finish this.
Is this really what you believe? No.
Yeah, what do you mean is this really what I believe?
Wait,
So
if
you
it
would
was clear that
insist-
other people weren't enjoying themselves, you would like...
Yeah, well, are you not thinking about the designer and the publisher in this conversation? Only the people at the table?
Sorry, I forgot about the social contract that I make with Reiner Knizia every day.
Excuse me? No one ever has a bad time when they're playing
That's true.
the doctor's games.
sorry.
That's true.
Good point.
Fair.
I've been in the situation that Mark described for sure, where I've just been like, hey, if we're not digging this, like, we can just call it. And I don't know that that's...
What if everyone was like really polite and like, no, it's okay.
That's the
like,
problem.
let's keep-
I actually think most of the times I've done this, it never resulted in the end of the game, because I think there's always someone that's been like, no, it's fine, we'll stick it out. Even though it's like, we really
Here's
don't have to do
Pearland
this.
and Sea.
Yeah, exactly, Christina. I think it's always a good idea to like gauge the temperature of the table, right?
I've been in a situation where it seems like nobody's enjoying themselves, and I'll say, hey, I think we should probably just call this. It's not really working out. And people say, oh, no. But I will insist in that case to call it. I'll just say, like, we got plenty of games. We don't have to waste our time on this. Let's just do something else.
How do you log it?
How do I log it? I don't think I would log that game then. It depends. Yeah, I would not log that game.
Oh, it depends?
No, it does not depend. I would never say those words. So I think it's clear that the majority or everybody's not having a good time. I would insist, and I have insisted, that we end the game.
Interesting.
I want to find a super exponential 2-player game, Mark, and then just continually challenge you to games of it. And right as it's very clear that you're about to stomp me,
Yeah.
I'll just concede, over and over again and say, oh, yeah, it's clear we're not having fun. You win. And then we just stop.
No, in those cases, I will say, no, I'm having fun.
And I'll say, oh, no, I insist. You're not having fun.
Just a real quick anecdote. I was playing a game on BGA with somebody. I think it was a game of Azul, and I was destroying them, and they conceded at the end, and it was just me off so much.
One turn before
Literally,
it ended?
yeah, one turn before. Like there was no way out for them, and they conceded at the very end.
I hate that.
And I had to log it as like some weird score when I could have had to log this incredible score. It's so annoying.
Oh gosh, that's the worst.
I know.
What was it? Was the username Pumpkin Boy?
That's right. That's right.
I would say everybody stand up. We're playing Time's Up, and then
New
after we
mid-game
play
thing,
Time's
but-
Up, you might just need a mood change,
Yeah.
And then maybe they'd be like, "Oh, you know what? This game was better than I thought. I was just in a bad mood." And then they'd sit down, maybe, and then we'd maybe try again, and then everybody'd have a good time. Or they'd be like, "Yeah, this game sucks. Let's play Time's Up again, or let's go play something else." So I think that's the solution to all of these questions, probably.
Play more times up.
Yeah, exactly.
Kellen, I want to hear about your social contract argument here.
I just think that typically the person who is winning, right, is probably having a good time. And I agree that there can be situations where even that's not the case. But I do think that in the first situation where one person is having a good time as a result of like their good decision making, you mostly owe it to them to finish the game if they would like to. I don't always do as I say. I've ejected mid demos of games at Gen Con after 10 minutes when I'm clear, and I leave Neelan there to finish the demo while I go take photographs on my
This is Kellen's favorite trick. Just get up in the middle of the game, take photographs, and never sit back down.
So I don't know that I'm the best person to answer hot questions about social contracts. But yeah, I think that you could call it. I think that it's very hard to discern who is and who isn't having fun, but you can get like a broad majority consensus. But the problem is that majority would go, oh, we hate it. And then the other two would go, oh, okay. Even though they actually might be having a good time or want to see how it goes. And a lot of times a game with a good arc will have a different ending than a different beginning, and you may know, hey, it gets good at the end. In general, I do not like to quit out of board games in progress. Most.
Right. Where I actually do agree with you, Kellen, is even in the situations where should we call it? That's never my wish. I always want to see it through personally, even if it's going badly for myself. Like I like the arc or the story of a finished game, regardless of like how it went. And actually, one more point that I do agree with you on. Actually, I do think that the social contract of if we're going to sit down and play this game, we should try to enjoy it regardless of what happens should be the presiding rule. Like, I kind of get a little bit frustrated when people are very visibly frustrated or upset during the game. It's like, no, that's not what we agreed to here. We agreed to enjoy it, to sit down and play and have a good time. Like, don't get miserable halfway through it.
Yeah. And I think the question is faulty. Like, it's never going to be everyone is miserable. Sure. And I think that is the crux of the question. Like, it is hard. Imagine playing an incredible game of like Blood Rage because it's like you're super invested. Like, if I was playing that with people who didn't like that type of game and I was really into it and excited, and then like Kellen was like, oh, nobody's having fun, we're going to call it, I would start crying probably, you know? It would just not feel good. And then I agree, Neelan, even games that I don't like, I'm just like, well, we have to finish it. Like, you know, I don't know. I feel like that when the four of us are playing, like I don't think we've ever done that where we just like decide to quit a game in the middle.
I mean, but should we have quit Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, or Air, Land, and Sea, or whatever the hell it's called? We should have. I think we probably.
I think there's an argument. That,
well, maybe not. Yeah.
But I think like because we finished it, we were able to conclusively say like we saw this through, and there was nothing redeeming in the end.
Funnily enough, I have a lot of pictures of us playing that game. I'm not lying.
Proof. We saw it through to the end, like we always do. And that, I think, is going to do it for the episode tonight. I guess it's morning for you if you're listening when this comes out. It's night. It's very late night for us. Thank you for listening. Thank you to Heart Society for our intro and outro song, What's on Your Mind, Kid? Thank you as well to our question writers, Pumpkin Tank and Pumpkin Boy.
Oh, don't.
Our very own Red Tank wrote the second question. So thank you to the both of you.
Faulty premise.
Sorry. I didn't I said that I didn't know you wrote it. If you want to see more questions of the day, like the one you heard today, you can join our Discord. And there's also lots of other things there. There's a wonderful community. Everyone is talking all the time, and it's great. That you can find at boardgamebarrage.com/Discord. You can also find us on all of the social media places, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I think that's all of them. You can email us at boardgamebarrage@gmail.com.
One more quick note. I was on a recent episode of the Board Game Snobs podcast. So if you want to hear me talk to Jerry, Enrique, and Gabi and hear an unusually high amount of Kellen talk, given the fact that he wasn't on the episode, then go ahead and check their podcast out. It's hilarious, and it was a pleasure to be on.
And you can call Mark at and he will personally answer any question you have.
Absolutely.
That's a new thing that we're doing. So make sure to call Mark.
Yeah, you don't have to be a Patreon for that. We're just giving out my number and I'm taking calls.
Thank you again for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Goodbye.
Good night.
Bye.
Morning. Bye.
Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
Goodbye.
I'm hot. I'm ready. I want you to save me from myself, baby.
And I don't know if they're going to be quite as spicy this time. Kellen was commenting on how they might have been a little bland.
No. What do you don't? We can't have that in the episode.
Oh, you want to hype it up?
You're a hype. Well, you don't go down. We go up.
Well, I mean, they're still going to be good. I just don't want to oversell something.
Hello, welcome to Board Game Barrage. These topics are bland. From Christina.
That'll show him. Yeah.
Had like literally the perfect spy play in combination. That would take too long to explain, though. Don't you think that would take too long to explain?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
I don't, but that's the miracle of board games.
Yeah, you don't remember? This happened literally last night.
The miracle of board games.
Maybe thank the two question givers again if we're thanking people.
Who was the other question?
I wrote that question. And
So don't thank.
remember when you
don't
said
thank-
super poorly written question?
Okay, I'll say.
False premise.